Welcome back, adventurers, to Let's Play Riven, the sequel to Myst. And when last we left off, we had finally decided to use the prison book first, at Gehn's insistence, and discover that, true to his nature, Gehn has not changed in the past 33 years. He still wanted vengeance on Atrus, and was prepared to kill him because he brought along a weapon. But unfortunately for him, he cannot kill Atrus, nor will he ever be able to kill Atrus, because the book he linked through was, in fact, the prison book. And because he linked through second, because we were already in the prison book, we were displaced back into the world of the 233rd age. So we've done it. We have finally, after all this time, we have finally managed to capture Gehn. Now, all that remains is to free Catherine from the prison island and use the Starfisher to signal Atrus into bringing a real dunny linking book to Riven. In front of us is the desk that we can now access now that we're no longer in the cage. And there is Gehn's pipe, never to be used again. There's a pen, and I'm assuming that this beetle contains the ink, the special ink that is needed in order to properly write the link to other ages, to other worlds. And this unmarked book must be the aforementioned 234th age. Gehn was right about one thing, above all else. After all these years, it is indeed a shame that he will never ever finish this book, this age, his magnum opus, his first real accomplishment besides 233. Never to be linked to. And we cannot use it, of course, because we don't have one of the... well, we don't have one of the book windows, but I suppose we could power it on one of these. Although we don't really have a way back, and it is still uncompleted. So we can actually wander around our surroundings and explore. It's the boiler powering the books. Don't want to turn that off. There's an object here, which is, I'm not sure what it's used for, but let's see what it does. Plays music. Rather somber, sad music. Even more sadder than the fact that Gehn is now gone. This place now feels rather empty without him. This door, which leads out to the surface of 233, that we cannot go out because it is locked. Nor do we wish to go out because we don't have the right protective clothing. It's a desolate desolate world. This room is actually rather small now. But there is this switch here that we couldn't access earlier in the cage. So let's use it now. That switch causes the cage to descend into the ground, so we once again have proper access to each of the books, linking back to Riven. But before we do that, there is somewhere else that I need to explore, which is this ladder down here. Let's see where this leads. Down, down, down we go. And there's a tapestry and a bowl. A tapestry once again depicting the Riven motif of 5 that Gehn is so very proud of. Although this tapestry seems quite worn, though then again that's not surprising, given that Gehn has, you know, been here for 33 years, or spent 33 years on Riven. Appears to be another imager on this windowsill here. Let's see what this one has to say.
Tagamem, san potegan shem, fasi.
I don't know who that woman was, but for this to be in Gehn's study, here on 233 in his private chambers, I get the feeling that she is someone very, very important to him. More important than I could possibly imagine, and speaking of which, there she is. The woman in the imager. She must be very important indeed. And there's appears to be writing here, possibly in her handwriting. I can't read the rest of it from here, but the first 2 words, to Gehn. And there's a second portrait over here of an older man, dressed rather similarly in the similar uniform to Gehn, but far older, it seems. Clearly these 2 individuals have great significance to Gehn. But exactly what significance that is, we don't quite yet know. There is a bed. Gehn's sleeping quarters. It's very well made. There's a journal on top of a set of drawers, and what appears to be some kind of globe of some sort. A drawer with what appears to be fabrics or towels. Let's see what the globe does. See if we can pull this. I got a glimpse of dunny numerals in there, so obviously this device is of dunny origin. But the noises that we heard, did they sound familiar to you? They certainly sounded familiar to me. We've heard them before. In Catherine's prison, the three levers that made the different sounds. There were 5 sounds in total. Once again, the motif of 5 is omnipresent even here on 233. I'm pretty sure that the sounds were click, ding, clack, clack, clack. So that is the combination needed to open Catherine's cell. And finally, there is the journal that is next to the globe. A rather worn, scruffed journal. But clearly important again, if it's here on 233, in his personal chambers. So let us read it. 86.9.29. I start this latest journal with astonishing news. Catherine has returned to the 5th Age, and though it sets my teeth on edge to say it, she has also vanished as quickly as she appeared, stolen from me by the rebels. As my guard tells it, she linked into the Fisher Plateau cage, as I'd guessed, when suddenly he was set upon by a band of rebels who darted him and spirited her away. I suspect the truth of the matter was he was so dumbfounded at actually witnessing someone link in after all this time that he presented an easy target for whichever rebel had happened by at that moment. The damnable luck of it. He did get a good enough look at her, though, to verify that it was indeed Catherine. He also claims that he inspected all her belongings and found no linking book on her person. A fact which, if true, makes the question of why she's returned here all the more puzzling. I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten about the fact that because Gehn was at the time imprisoned on Riven, pretty much marooned, he would have had no knowledge of the fact that Sirrus and Achenar, his own grandsons, even existed. While I am sick with frustration at having lost the only quarry that cage has ever caught, I am also filled with hope. She may yet provide me with a way back to Dunny. It is true that I have managed, despite overwhelming odds, to break free of the confines of the 5th Age and resume my mission to save my culture from extinction. But I fear that unless I am able to regain access to the vast resources that lie in the city's ruins, the task of reconstructing that great civilization will be impossible. If Catherine didn't bring a linking book with her, then I am halfway there. If not, then she is trapped in the 5th Age with me, and I can only assume that my emotionally crippled son will soon be along to rescue her. Either way, it is crucial to my plans that I find her soon. Her presence now forces me to take the rebels more seriously. I should never have permitted them to survive this long. 86.10.5. Once again, the Great Walk has demonstrated its usefulness to me. I'm pretty sure that's not how walk is spelled again, but to each his own. This past week, the villagers have been most difficult to manage. Apparently they learned of Catherine's arrival, and their fear of this mythic beast has been all that has kept them in line. Had I known how truly useful these prodigious creatures would prove to be, I would have perhaps captured more of them while the local population was still plentiful, although to be sure, if these disturbances continue, My current pets will be in no danger of perishing for lack of nourishment. 86.10.13. The search for Catherine continues. I now deeply regret my mistake of ever having taught these primitive people anything at all about the books. It seems that with each passing day I sorely realize the extent to which they were not ready for that knowledge, not even in the simplified manner in which I had presented it to them. Their minds, adapted only to the exceptionally menial tasks of village life, were incapable of comprehending the art in all its complexity, and they were unable to extract the essential underlying principles that are, ironically, so elegantly simple. It is obvious that much of the discord that exists between us stems from their failure to grasp the full meaning of the information I gave them. If they had been able to gain even the smallest glimpse of the future that I'd planned for them, then this conflict would not exist. The minds of children are much more malleable. With the proper instruction, they have developed a more appropriate posture towards the culture that gave them their lives. At times they take to it as if they had a bit of Dunny blood in them. Given the natives' inborn limitations, however, I am quite certain that none of them gain a level of understanding that would permit them to sin against their future the way that Catherine did. How foolish was I to think that she could contain such knowledge responsibly, when it was quite clear that my own son could not. Atrus. Still he remains one of the greatest disappointments of my life. I should never have left him with my mother. By the time I'd returned for him, he'd already been poisoned as to all thoughts of the Dunny. Perhaps it was the only way that she could rationalize the fact that she had been responsible for the collapse of their civilization. So much destruction, so many great lives lost. The guilt must have been unbearable. I do have vague recollections of the love she had for my father, and for our world. But ultimately she was an outsider whose ignorance of the Dunny became the catalyst for their demise. If I am to rebuild our culture, and in the process correct such crucial weaknesses, and perhaps what she did was ultimately necessary, in order that a new era of prosperity might someday come to pass. 87.1.4. These last few weeks I have found myself frequently beset by images from the past. As I stood in the schoolroom today, I was reminded of my own childhood. The years I spent in the Bookmakers Guild, Father's immense pride at each of my small accomplishments there. He was an important man in the Dunny world, but I can't bear to think of him for too long. It's too much. I was too young to see such a thing. 87.2.8. I've got her. Late last night I received word that Catherine was in the village, attempting to persuade the people to join her. I lost 2 good men in the process, but I would have paid 100 times that number for such a prize. She's been taken to the prison island, where I've been attempting to gain some insight as to the reason for her presence here. I've had to fight the all but constant impulse to put her on the gallows. She has adopted the most infuriating stance of only answering my questions, when she answers them at all, in her native tongue. Even so, she is a poor liar. I am quite certain that her return to Riven was unintentional, and that she brought no linking book with her. As far as her unwillingness to share with me the location of the moiety, we shall see. Without their leader, however, they are once again powerless against me. If Catherine's coming here was indeed an accident, then Atrus is bound to come for her, that is a given. The question I must now consider is, how will he do it? It is likely his hesitation has been due, at least in part, to this dilemma. One way or another, though, he'll have to bring a linking book to get back to Dunny. There is no other way. 87.6.20. It's late and I cannot sleep. I've lost so much in my life. My people, my father, my son, and you, my wife, Keta. You were the only true kindness I have ever known. Watching you flicker there in the imager, I sometimes wonder if you were real. If I could restore your life with my pen, I would do it in an instant, and leave the rest of the world to their own wretched fate. Well, we now know the identity of the woman in the portrait and the imager. Keta, Ghehn's wife, which would make her the mother of Atrus. But it is clear from this that something rather tragic has happened. "87.7.30. Damn these savages. I would be well advised to leave them all in the 5th Age and begin again with a clean sheet of paper. A stranger has arrived on Riven with a linking book to Dunny, and once again my useless minion was overtaken by the rebels. From what little I could decipher from his muddled explanation, it apparently occurred sometime this morning. The cage has been damaged, but it is no matter. Everything I need is here now. Atrus is certainly behind this, yet how could he be so foolish as to send someone with a linking book? Such blatancy is unlike him. Could it be that he has had a change of heart? After all these years, is he finally letting his poor old father go? No, he is only after one thing. Perhaps he should find her. For now, I only need to wait and observe. Well, we have certainly learned much from this journal. This woman is indeed Ghehn's wife, Keta. Now lost to him forever. And if Ghehn's journal is to be believed, then this man right here is none other than Atrus's father. No, Ghehn's father, which would make him Atrus's grandfather. And according to Ghehn's journal, this man was a very important figure in the Dunny society. But most importantly, we have learned, above all else, the motivations behind Ghehn's actions. He may have been drunk with power and crazed with madness, but he was also right about something else. His intentions were indeed honorable. Driven by grief at the loss of his wife, his father, the Dunny civilization lost to him when he was only a small child, and the fractured bond between himself and his own son, Atrus. Gehn may have been a tyrant, and he may have been even more dangerous than Sirrus and Achenar combined, due to the fact that he knew he could use the power of the art to link to other worlds, to other ages. But at least I can sympathize with Gehn. Sirrus and Achenar, on the other hand, were merely driven by greed and power. Sirrus became self-absorbed, and Achenar became deranged and completely sociopathic. But alas, Ghehn's desire to restore the lost Dunny culture was matched and exceeded only by his all-consuming hatred for Atrus. If Gehn had been able to put the past behind him, things might have actually been resolved between the two. But alas, it appears that that fate is not in the cards. So when we return, adventurers, we shall head to the prison island, free Catherine, and then finally return to the Temple Island to unseal the Star Fissure and signal Atrus, and hope that we all don't get killed in the process. Until next we meet, adventurers.